It's the symbolism behind this action. It speaks to exactly where we are at as a society. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. I do like to talk about current events and politics and pretty much anything else that's going on in the world that I think needs another opinion. So please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, share it with others. Help me to grow this channel and hopefully reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So today we are going to talk again about Dylan Mulvaney. And just as a quick recap, if you are not overly familiar with who this person is, Dylan is a biological male, lived that way for most of his life, was a gay man from what I understand. And about a year and a half ago decided that he wanted to be a woman and started documenting this transition journey on TikTok with labels on his videos like day 3 of being a girl and day 25 of being a girl and day 300 of being a girl, and just all of these things that he feels has been important to this process. So that's who Dylan is, and Dylan has become very popular across social media and apparently everywhere else now. He even went so far as to be invited to the White House to interview Joe Biden just a few months ago, and nothing says take the United States seriously as inviting a man in a pink dress to talk to the President of the United States about Barbie pouches. He has honestly become the poster child for the transgender movement, and I will get a little bit into that a little bit more later, but what I wanted to focus on first is this latest interview that he was invited to do on the Barrymore show. So this interview took place within the last couple of days, and as Drew and Dylan are sitting there chatting, Dylan starts to get really emotional.
Thank you, everybody, for that support.
So what bothers me about what's happening here is has nothing to do with the fact that Dylan wants to live his life in dresses and wear lipstick and makeup. I don't care. Dylan's a grown adult. Make your own choices, whatever makes you happy. What bothers me is the fact that he's sitting across from a biological female, somebody that I would expect to stand up for the rights of women and how far we've come, and somebody that I would expect to compassionately say, I am not going to invalidate your experiences as a human being. I'm not going to invalidate who it is that you feel like you need to be happy. That's not the issue here. The issue is that it's still important to make the distinction that the experiences of women who are born as such, who are women on a cellular level, are very different than men who wake up one day and decide to start wearing dresses. You can have your life experiences. Nobody is trying to say that you can't, and nobody is trying to say that your feelings aren't real. But what's disrespectful is that biological women really have their own unique perspective and their unique way of doing things, their unique emotions, their inherent qualities that cannot be understood just by changing your name or changing your pronouns or changing your wardrobe or even taking estrogen. But no, she doesn't take the opportunity to stand up for women. Instead, she does this.
Can't imagine anybody disliking you. Oh, please.
Now there's this image of Drew Barrymore kneeling in front of Dylan Mulvaney that has been circulating, and I fully understand that she was showing him support and compassion, and they were having this emotional moment and a moment where he is struggling with something and she wanted to be there for him. That's a very natural reaction, especially for women, some more than others. I would say that I am not on, the extreme side of being super emotional and supportive at times, much to my husband's dismay, but for the most part, this is kind of something that women do. We reach out to people physically, emotionally, and we try to connect to them and make sure that they feel like they're being heard and that they're not alone. So I'm not disputing that in any way, but it's the symbolism behind this action. It speaks to exactly where we are at as a society. The fact that we have completely abandoned all reality, and the fact that there are so many girls and women right now that are having to bow down to biological males, that are having to sacrifice the positions that they have earned to biological males. And all that men have to do is put on a dress and put on some lipstick, and suddenly their voice and their opinion and their feelings not only matter, but they matter more than that of biological women. And we see this happening time and time again. Now, sports seems to be the most prominent and most attention-getting circumstance where we see biological males taking over women's spaces. Well, recently there was a girls' basketball team in Vermont who chose not to compete in a particular game, to not play against this other team, because they found out that this other girls' team had a biological male playing on the team. So they decided to take a stand and say, we are not going to do this. We want women's sports to be fair. And in response, instead of saying, we understand your position, they were banned and barred from competing altogether. They were banned from all games. So just a few weeks ago, we were having this ongoing conversation about how, a place on a podium could be taken from a biological female and replaced with a male, or an award or a scholarship could be taken. But now women and girls are being banned from competing altogether. And when I talk about these issues, I get a lot of people that comment and say, why don't women just not compete? They take a stand and they don't compete when a biological male enters into their sport. Well, they're making an example of these girls who stand up and speak out and say, this is what is going to happen if you say anything. This one biological male over here on this team, his voice is more important than yours, and if you say anything, you're going to lose the opportunity to compete completely. But I think one of the saddest things that I have seen lately, aside from the whole sports situation, I don't know if you guys have heard of the podcast, the Whatever podcast. I think it's probably pretty popular, that it's been around for a while, but I've only started to see clips of it pop up recently, and now they just seem to be everywhere. But the host is this guy, no idea what his name is, sorry. Seems to be like early to mid-20s at the most, so definitely a younger group. And he's sitting at this table, and there are about 8 girls sitting around, and it's this semicircle. And he asks the question, what is a woman? And the responses just absolutely made the little hairs on my arms stand straight up.
Right? So what is a woman?
A woman is anyone who wants to identify as one.
A cat is a cat because they are a cat. That's not like...
I feel like
this isn't a gotcha. It's just a genuine question. What is a woman? Hold on. Hold on. Go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say yet.
But what is a woman?
A person?
No, but what is the definition of what is a woman?
I don't know. I'm confused now.
I understand what your argument is. If I come out and I say a woman is someone who was born biologically a woman, I understand that that's where you're coming from. And I agree everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But I personally, as an individual, respect trans people. I respect trans women. So I'm not going to come on here and invalidate them by saying that. I understand completely where you're coming from. But just from my personal preference, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Answering the question. Okay. No, hey, that's okay. What about you?
I'm just not really interested in having this conversation about trans people anymore because you seem very clearly committed to misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Well, I am trying to understand. I'm just trying to get people's perspective. So what is a woman?
I'm gonna say what she said. I don't feel comfortable. I just feel like that's like not. I don't know. I feel like there's a better question that could be asked in this situation. We all respect the trans community enough, and like invalidating that, like telling they believe that they are a woman or they're a man, transgender, whatever, and invalidating that's not our position. It's not our place to say what they can and can't be.
Allie, what is a woman?
Well, a woman is an adult human female. It's the same thing, like a man is an adult human male. XX chromosomes, that means you're a woman. There are people that are born intersex. They're an incredible minority. And, you know, men are humans who have XY chromosomes.
So we've got the first girl who has no problem coming out and saying a woman is just anybody who wants to identify as a woman. The next girl just quietly says, I don't have anything to say. And then the next girl, you know, she kind of has this same hesitancy. She doesn't want to get into the conversation. And she vocally says, I don't want to get into the conversation. I don't want to say what I really think. And she's sitting there and who knows what it is that she really thinks, but she feels like she can't say it because she's going to hurt somebody's feelings. She's going to hurt a biological male's feelings. And as you look at these girls and they're going around the table, their voices are barely audible. If they truly believed, if most of these girls truly believed that a woman is anybody who identifies as such, they would have just said that because there would have been no backlash, there would have been no pushback, at least in that immediate group. They would have been praised for it and it would have been totally fine. But instead of saying that, they chose not to say anything because they are afraid. We are at a place where these young girls are literally afraid to say, I'm a woman. And I'm proud of being a woman. And I'm proud of the inherent qualities that come from being a woman. And I don't personally blame Dylan Mulvaney for this. At least not solely, at least not entirely. Because I truly think that he is too far involved in his delusional little bubble to think about the harm that he could be causing to other women. But I also feel like he is being used. And he is being used as this poster child by the people that want to convince children that they're transgender, and they're using him as this example to make this movement, to make these kind of transitions seem like this euphoric and joyful and flawless experience, and that anybody that opposes that, like their parents, are truly standing in the way of this level of happiness. So that is what I think Dylan is being used for. But I do blame Dylan on some level, and people like Dylan, or this trans movement that pushes the idea that womanhood is so trivial and so meaningless that making these cosmetic and superficial changes makes it so that you truly understand what it is like to be a woman, and you should be called as such, and you should be granted those spaces, and you should be granted those rights and granted those awards, and that womanhood is so non-distinct from being a man that it almost means nothing at all anymore. And if that's the case, then why would the blood, sweat, and tears that so many women throughout history have put into trying to pave the way for women's rights and women's recognition and women's respect, why would that even be necessary? If all it took was a man to put on a dress and call themselves a woman and show up to vote, or complete medical school, or appoint themselves to the Supreme Court of the United States, to accomplish all of these things that women have reached throughout history as the first woman this or the first woman that, if the only thing that it took was for a man to call himself a woman and to do those things that hadn't been accomplished by a woman yet, then why did they even bother? Why did these women even bother? And it's not only about looking at the past, it's about looking at the future. I have a daughter. I have no idea what the future is going to look like for her. Is she going to be snuffed out? Is she going to be silenced by biological males who put on dresses and told that she has to be quiet, that she cannot speak up because she might hurt one of their feelings? Is she going to have the right to privacy? Is she going to have the right to feel safe, to express her concerns, to voice her opinions? Or is she going to be told to be quiet because a male in a dress is speaking? So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please like this video, share it with others. Also, I would love it if you would subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.